44th episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the third week of May 2011. This episode is titled Austin Sauce. CloudFocus Weekly is sponsored by Arkus, cloud computing experts. I'm your host, Jason Atwood, and joining me today, 44 times in, 44 times a champion, Justin Edelstein, my co-host and partner here at Arkus, or one of the partners here at Arkus. How you doing, Justin?
I'm all right. I was waiting for you to ask me how I'm doing. That's my cue.
You and I have spent a lot of time together this week.
Too much.
Way too much.
One would say too much.
I would say it's only for the fans of this podcast that we are actually even in the same room today.
Yeah.
Since we traveled from Sunday through, actually today, this morning at 12:30 a.m. when we got in, we've been together for pretty much the entire time.
Yep.
So let's get this over with.
All right.
So we got some news. There's been some happenings while we were traveling to the deep down south. Yeah, if anybody can guess, I hope you can guess. Pretty obvious by the title. LinkedIn went IPO. That's kind of cool news. New York City is going digital. It's going to be the digital city. Google News, they have some new features and actually changing up their pricing scheme is interesting. We have some NetSuite news. NetSuite and Yammer integration. Talk a little bit about that and what that might mean for a company that we talk about more often than not. And then we'll make our super duper picks of the week. You're basically going to steal my pick from last week that I didn't do, and I'm going to do all the picks that I had last week that I wrote into a blog post.
All right.
Excellent. Let's get going. So, first of all, is LinkedIn going IPO, which happened, yesterday or 2 days ago?
Thursday. That would be yesterday.
It had a price of $45. We've talked about LinkedIn a lot in the last, since our podcast started last August or July, actually. We're coming up on our 1 year. And it went all the way up to, I think, 105?
It's high yesterday, topped out at... let's see. What is this? 109? No, 115.
And it's at about 100 now?
It's at 100.79 as we speak. I have the Google Finance page up.
Nice. Google Finance with real-time quotes.
Real-time. Nice.
Updating all the time. So, interesting, I think, in terms of is this sparking the next round of sort of the next bubble?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Your comment to me, which we said yesterday, or you said, oh, well, Facebook's being worth, $500 a share. I would argue, actually, you probably look up Google. Look up Google. See what
Google's still up in the 500s.
Then FaceTime's more than that.
Facebook.
527
is Google.
527, yeah, I would say then if they were, which, again, I've read some of the posts by Zuckerberg and seen his interviews, he's basically said, going IPO isn't my mission. I don't really want to go IPO. There's nothing I get out of it other than, tons and tons of money. But he has tons and tons of money. And so he sees it as a way of losing control. I've not heard of anything of them talking about going IPO, other than I think their investors are at some point going to say, hey, listen, we kind of want to cash out. But it's interesting because, LinkedIn by itself isn't really, the technology behind LinkedIn personally, and there might be some great technology behind it, isn't really extraordinary. The idea of connecting up with linking with people in messages, and they've added on stuff about contacts, company pages you can follow now. They've basically taken a lot of this stuff. They integrate with Twitter very well. But in terms of an actual technology base, I don't think it's something that a couple programmers in 6 months couldn't pump out on a new platform. But it's clearly about the data, right?
100 million users.
100 million users and $100 a share. So how many are on Facebook? About 600 million now?
I think more.
Yeah.
700?
Yeah, so
a lot.
By the time they get up there, they could be worth $1 billion.
$1 billion.
I don't know what it was. $1,000 a share. Any other thought on it? You're a big LinkedIn user.
I do like the LinkedIn. I have my Twitter connected to it, which is a lot of people mention to me like, you're on LinkedIn a lot. You
right.
I'm like, no, I don't really go to it all that often. When I meet someone new, I do have a tendency to go and try and link in with them, which is a good practice. But I feel like this is the start of like the next
tech bubble,
and if there were to be a Super Bowl this year, I think we'll see a lot of like Zynga commercials, and like all these different .com-y
tech
startups, social media, Groupon type of living social apps or websites. They're popping up and they're IPOing, and we'll see where that goes. We'll see if people, if this is different, or if history will tell us something else.
That we'll be right back in a big tech bubble that'll pop, in other words.
Yep.
I mean, I like LinkedIn as a product. I think they do some really great stuff. I think it fits a need that I have, which is I want to keep Facebook pretty private, under 200 friends. But I also want to connect with a whole bunch of people in tons of different ways, and don't, a lot of colleagues and people. So then, catch me up on LinkedIn. I think we both have custom roles, so we're in there. Search for us, Jason Atwood, Justin Edelstein at Arkus. You'll find us, and we'll pretty much link in with anybody. Which is the nice thing about LinkedIn.
Yeah,
it's a.
If you ask me, and if you write in the thing, I listen to your podcast, I'll definitely.
We actually had someone do that the other day, which was fun. All right, next news. I think is the most interesting. We're New York City people. We live in New York. You were born and raised. I'm a transplant, but I was 10, so it's been a few years. So Mike Bloomberg, mayor of New York, has announced that New York City plans to be the first next top digital city. And not that they're gonna
next top.
Yeah,
he really wants to be the top digital city.
I thought when I read the article originally, or the headline, I thought, so they want to become the next Silicon Valley. No. They want to be like digitally connected. So it's not that they want to have a lot of tech startups, although they do. But they want to be digital. So they're doing a lot of. They have this huge proposal or plan, I guess, roadmap, 68 pages long.
Yeah, that sounds like something that a government would put together.
It's interesting because you should read it. I started to read it, and the first thing I noticed was I've read a lot of government. I live in an area of New York that does a lot of government stuff, so I end up reading a lot of it because I'm wondering what they're doing in the next phases, and they're very dry and very full of they're very dry. They're not full of pictures. They're full of graphs from 1985, right? But this is full of all these great, pretty graphs and oversizing fonts, and you can see that the person who did this not only built the proposal or whatever, the plan, but had an understanding of the way that people, we read stuff now in big letters and sort of fun graphs and things like that. Different colored fonts, and so basically New York City is gonna be hooking up all the different kind of social networks and using them to help empower the city. So everything from obviously Twitter from answering questions. They have a line called 311, which I don't know if you've ever called 311.
I have, because my car's been towed.
Yep.
And 311 will help you find where it is.
Yeah, they'll do anything. So I think they're going to kind of bring that to Twitter. So sort of customer service.
At NYC.gov.
Yep, very cool. They're going to use Facebook for, again, more support, connection, hearing people's ideas. Again, connecting what is traditionally, if I said to you right now, go complain about something to the government, you'd be like, I don't know how to do that. But I think this is a way to bring it to the social media, which is great, because we all know where to go to Facebook or where to go to Twitter, which is where we would naturally go anyway. In fact, when I was giving Verizon praise yesterday on as I was seeing 20 megabyte downloads on my 4G, and I did it on Twitter. And just like if they were messing up, I would pretty much do that on Twitter too.
They're also going to be the first city to use the just announced fast follow service, which will allow you to essentially get the SMS updates via Twitter, Twitter old school, without Twitter 1.0, without actually having a Twitter account or following. You can't follow if you don't have an account, but you can text follow NYC.gov to the 40404, and you'll get the SMS messages
right
without actually needing an account or anything. It's just quick follow.
So I'm really impressed. The one that Twitter and Facebook, okay, that's kind of that is a little bit like everybody's doing that. I thought was interesting is they brought in Foursquare and Tumblr, and Foursquare they're going to build badges, which
I want every badge,
and they're going to put them all around the city. So you basically have to go to different places in the city, public places, parks.
I will be doing this.
It's kind of fun because I think it gets people excited about the city and getting out of the house. Although it is a rainy day today, but So what? I mean, awesome. I mean, I'm. It's almost Austin sauce. It's so awesome. No,
I'm just shaking my head.
Again, we've been together for almost 5 days straight.
Oh, get me out of here.
All right. In Google news, because it almost seems like, well, Google I/O was last week. Was it last week? Yes. Mm-hmm. So there's lots of news that's kind of trickling out. 2 that didn't make it into the big announcements, the Chromebook and all that, are coming out now. Google Sheets is getting pivot tables for all you Excel junkies. They're getting pivot tables.
Has pivot tables. Already has.
Launched, I guess.
Launched. Done. People who want to summarize their data in Google Sheets, go for it. Hop right in. The argument between Excel and Google Sheets gets slimmer.
Give me a number, 1 to 10. 10 being Excel, right? 10 being Excel. No, let's do 100. 1 to 100. 100 being Excel. Where is Google in relation? How far are they? How close to they getting to what Excel does?
For me or for like a finance person?
For you.
Oh, for me, they're like, I don't know, 85, 90% of the way there.
Really?
For a real Excel person, probably not even close.
Like 30s.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like for me they're about 50% of the way there.
People build like their whole system in Excel.
Their filtering isn't there yet, and just handling of a lot of data. Like, again, my machine, my MacBook can render thousands of rows of data in Excel faster than Google Sheets can render it. Fine, they can render it on their server, but they still have to pump that data over to me and then have my browser, which is basically the lowest common denominator, render it, which is what makes it slow. So yes, for sharing, it's awesome, right? For sharing, it's great. You can put some stuff up there, small stuff, lists and things like that. But beyond that, the integration stuff isn't there yet. As we've been talking about integrators, pumping data in and out of Salesforce, there are ways to pump it to Google Sheets, but it's not as natural as just getting it right to Excel. So yeah, I would say for me 50%, but great. I mean, I love that they're moving up, and they're doing 2 things with their account program, which is interesting.
Tell me.
One is that they're sort of good and bad. So the free edition, I think they're limiting. So you can sign up for Google accounts for free, right?
Yeah, just Gmail.
No, Google Apps. You can sign up for Google Apps, so you have a full app account, and it looks like the one you pay for, but they've kind of been hiding it recently.
I thought they had it, and then they took it away.
No, it's still there.
It's still there?
I put someone on it recently.
I thought they took it away.
I put someone on it recently. You kind of have to click around to get it. It's almost hidden, but they're now limiting it to 10 licenses. No. Oh wow, it's bad. I don't know if you have to use 10, or if you can only use 10. Either way, they're limiting it, so they're making it less and less useful. For
if you have your own domain to do this?
Yeah, you can use it with your own domain. You don't have to.
Gotcha.
You can use it with your own domain.
All right.
And then the other thing is they're going to monthly. So Google Apps right now is the very, very high cost of $50 a year per person.
It's a lot.
Which breaks out to it's just tiny amounts of money.
As we just traveled for the last 5 days together.
Too much time.
We really got the benefits of using Google Apps. You log right in, you're in. You're done. You open your browser, anywhere you're in.
Yeah, and I even went a step farther. I downloaded Chrome, and then I synced up to Chrome, used Chrome Sync, which then pulled down all my bookmarks, pulled down all my preferences, pulled down all my extensions. So basically, we had chat running, we had email running, we had docs running, and of course we had Salesforce.
On the road.
Yeah, it was...
stuff that we could not even do at the largest company in the world.
The second largest.
Whatever.
IBM's largest.
Couldn't even do that. We couldn't even do that.
Well, yeah, they would. They would have given you a laptop, and they would have said VPN in somewhere.
Oh.
And you would have screen shared or something. I will say, the one thing that I noticed and thought of as we left, and now think that I went to look for the feature today, which doesn't exist, which is Google Chrome doesn't have a master password set for it.
All right.
So like Firefox, you can set a master password that you can't get into the Firefox until you add this, or you can't do any of the password stuff until you give a master password.
It won't remember. It won't use your remembered passwords.
So I think that's good policy. Chrome doesn't have that. I would suggest that's something they add, especially with things like Chromium and Chromebooks, and if you really want people to sort of log into their accounts, and we are using two-factor, which is great.
Yes.
Again, it worked beautifully.
It works.
So there is a higher level of security.
Wouldn't say it's great.
Really? Works like a charm.
I don't know. It works. It's annoying.
Yeah, but it's meant to be annoying.
I know.
But
it's annoying.
You did it once, and then that's it.
But it's annoying still.
Yeah, it's supposed to be
The
annoying.
method for it to do it is pretty cool. I mean, pop up an app on your phone and pump in like 8 numbers, and
it's pretty easy.
Pretty
it couldn't
cool.
be easier. You don't have to carry a fob.
No, it replaces that fob stuff that was all the rage 5-10 years ago or whatever.
Still the rage.
People still use that crap.
The wife still works at a big sports company, and she has her fob.
Salesforce those people carry around fobs.
Yeah.
Those people.
Well, interesting. Salesforce doesn't have two-factor. I mean, they have sort of authentication checks, but they don't have two-factor yet. Which it'll be interesting to see if it's something that they add on as a feature. I'm sure there's some way to add it on. All right, and then with the other piece of cool news is now they're doing their accounts. You can now bill monthly. That's what I was trying to get to.
So like
it's a little bit more.
$3 and change, $5 a month.
So it's a premium.
So $60.
So $60 a year. So you pay that $10 premium. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yes. $5 per user per month.
Whoa.
Yep. Takes a lot of money. So, it's most of these companies, like even Dropbox and Evernote and
$5 a month is so cheap for what you get with Google Apps. It's amazing.
It's cheaper than you get if you. Well, it's cheap even for the Gmail. Even for
Just
27
use mail.
gigabytes. 27 gigabytes. I looked at my thing the other day. I'm using 3%.
Yeah.
I have 7,000
Using
emails.
nothing.
And it's for $5. That's pretty good. All right, so that's interesting news. And then the last piece is NetSuite.
NetSuite, who we rarely talk about.
Yeah, we talk about them occasionally. We do business with them occasionally, meaning we integrate Salesforce to NetSuite occasionally. We happened to meet a NetSuite integrator down at our training, so that was
they had their big conference called Suite World 2011 last week.
I have a sweet tooth for Sweet World.
Yep.
Sorry.
Last week or the week before.
I'm sure. That's why they don't call it Sweet Force. Dream Suite.
Dream Suite. Dream Suite.
Dream Suite.
It's a good one. Maybe they'll change that.
So, for those of you who don't know NetSuite is a sort of it's cloud computing platform.
It's an ERP. It's got everything.
It's got everything. So it's all you could need. It's CRM. It's finances. It's inventory. It's got what the guy said 35 modules.
46
modules. Don't know
Lots of modules.
Don't know why you remember that.
Because I remember random things like that.
And in a lot of ways, they're competitors to a lot of companies. I mean, they're obviously because they do so much. They're competitors to Salesforce in some ways because they do CRM. But they're in other ways, a lot of people use them in conjunction with CRM. I don't know a lot about them. I've seen the product a couple times. I've seen demos. I think I've logged into like maybe a test account. I know that from our customers, generally the usage is they use it as the finance backend and they use Salesforce as the CRM backend or office management or whatever else they're using it for. And then they sync them through some third-party provider. And then what they say is that NetSuite in general, very good for what it does on that piece, but more expensive on a per user per month. So you don't want to throw every one of your users in there because it kind of adds up. More so than Salesforce, which a lot of people think is expensive when you compare it to Zoho or Highrise or any one of these other suites. DabbleDB, which doesn't exist anymore. Oh. As of 2 days ago. But so I think in this seems like in direct response to the news is that in direct response to what we would consider the chatter for Salesforce, NetSuite is now integrating with Yammer.
Yep. The NetSuite Social. Suite Social, I think they're calling it. Well, they made 2 announcements. One, they're planning deep integrations with Gmail and Google Calendar, deeper integrations with Gmail and Google Calendar, which is, all right, great. Your CRM or whatever integrates with email and calendar. That should do that.
It's one of the things I wish Salesforce would integrate deeper. It's integrated. It's just I want it to go like 2 levels deeper.
I want more than just the button. Yeah. Like click the Gmail button and you're compose a Gmail.
Well, it throws in your email to Salesforce.
Well, that's what it should do.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean, it actually shouldn't even do that. It should just like you shouldn't even see that. It should just work. Whatever.
Yeah. To it inline.
But the big piece is that they're tacking Yammer into NetSuite, and they're going to be socializing their business objects.
So give me a Yammer 101. Cliff Notes Yammer me.
Well, Yammer is essentially, and I haven't played with it in a while, in probably 6-7 months. But Yammer is, it's kind of like Chatter, but I think it has a few more features. It has, your social feed, your news feed. You can subscribe to people. It's like Twitter, but for the enterprise. Very much like what Chatter.com is, right? And they're going to tack Yammer into NetSuite and allow you to follow records.
Sounds familiar.
Just like Chatter. So you'll have your profile and your groups, and now you'll be able to socialize the data within NetSuite. So if something changes, it can pump to Yammer, and if you're following that record, you get the update.
So it's still a Yammer account.
Not clear to me if it's a Yammer account or if it's like a package that you sort of get and it's part of your NetSuite account. Unclear to me whether it's like, oh, I want to tack the Suite Social onto NetSuite, and when you do that, you don't need a Yammer account. It just sort of, the technology just sort of sits there and does the work, as opposed to like needing to log into multiple things.
Right.
Or having your Yammer account standalone on your iPhone app and logging into Yammer and seeing the NetSuite data. Not sure how it's all going to work. It's just announced.
Yeah, so I think what my interest is piqued because, so I think that makes Yammer a little bit more relevant because it's what Chatter sort of brought that Yammer didn't have. I'm sure Yammer has more features than Chatter. I'm guessing it does.
Definitely does.
But it doesn't have that integration, which is what we find interesting is that objects chatter themselves. But I would suggest that the security thing is what I would then be really interested, because Chatter is based on the Salesforce object model and security. So if you can't see an object, you're not going to see the chatter on it. Great. But now if you have connecting two together, how are you going to handle that security model? Because if I can't see this, but it's a separate account, but I can follow that person on that account, I just think that could become...
Well, you don't know how it works.
I don't, but I know that they're two different companies, and they're connecting them through an API. So my guess is that it's either they've either solved it for it, but my guess is that would be my kind of like, wow, how are they going to handle that? Because that's not an easy thing to handle. From someone who looks at this stuff a lot and looks at permissions and profiles and roles and permission sets and all that, that thing gets a little complicated. Now you add in another layer to that, which is this social networking on the outside on a different app, whatever. But it actually makes me want to go back and maybe I will over the weekend when I'm spending time away from you.
That would be great.
I will go look at Yammer.
Can't wait for that.
All right, and that actually wraps up the news. So the news we had, we cut out a couple other things, but because we have actually more than a few picks, I'm going to let you go for your CloudFocus app pick of the week first.
Oh, snappy snap.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm picking a product that is a kind of third-party Twitter app tie-in.
Can't wait to hear about this product.
Well, you told me about it, and I fell in love with it. It's called Buffer. The website is bufferapp.com. And what Buffer allows you to do is create a queue.
I just want to stop you for a second.
Go ahead.
Are you sure you want to tell people about this?
Why?
Because it kind of... I'm joking, and there's a big smile on my face, but it kind of gives away you're the magic sauce a little bit.
Yeah, people should know.
Okay.
I mean, it says it on Twitter, tweeted from Buffer.
But you don't know if Buffer's an app. You don't know if Buffer's just a tweet app.
I'm giving it away.
All right, you're
giving away the secret. For those of you who listen,
sauce?
For those of you who listen, you're getting some awesome stuff here. All right. It's called Buffer. Buffer app is the website, bufferapp.com. Okay, it's a plugin for Twitter, and it has like a browser buttons, etc. That when you click it, and you're on a website or something like that, you can click it and it creates a tweet for you, and that's nothing special. But what Buffer does is it allows you to create a queue of tweets. So you can go ahead and as you're surfing the web, just keep hitting the Buffer button, and it will just queue up all these things that you want to tweet. And then on the Buffer side, on the website, you can create a schedule. So you say, I want tweets to go out at 9:30 a.m., 12:45 p.m., 1:22 p.m., 8:30 p.m., etc., all the way down. With the free account, you get up to 10 tweets in your buffer. So that means you can have 10 different times per day that your tweets can go out. And of course, they don't have to be links that you're finding on the web. You can just go to the Buffer app and just type in whatever you want, hit add to queue, and it will add it to your queue. That's the free version that supports the continual stream, the 10 tweets in the buffer for one Twitter account, and a free Chrome extension, which is just a button. It also works in Safari. That's where I use it from.
Well, I think actually the Chrome extension is actually an extension. The Safari one, they're both extensions.
They're both extensions.
Yeah, they're both extensions. They're not just links.
No. So then there's a $5 per month one that allows 3 Twitter accounts, 50 tweets in the buffer, and a 2 team member account, which I'm not exactly sure what that is. And then there's a premium for $30 a month. Not sure why you would ever do this, but unlimited tweets in your buffer, 9 different Twitter accounts, 4 team member accounts.
There it is, right
and
there.
And a direct line to the founder.
Love that. Love that. Direct line to founder.
So if you're like a big company and you're crazy with social media and you just want to just have people just pumping stuff out, you can have it buffered for $30 per month. See
the tagline under premium?
Yeah, Guy Kawasaki like tweeting.
I would have said someone else, but anyway, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. You get metrics, you get analytics. So if you're pumping out a tweet with a link, you get to see, how many times it was retweeted. If it's retweeted, it tells you how many people it has reached. So obviously, initially when you buffer and when you tweet, it's reaching your followers. 4 people retweet it, it counts up like how many people have actually seen this, and then how many people have clicked the link, which a lot of apps do. General analytics, which is kind of cool.
What it's and we both started using it last week, and it's really nice because we talk a lot about GTD and getting things done, and one of the theories of stuff that comes out, we actually talk about Merlin Mann, but when he talks a lot about doing sprints of your work. So instead of constantly going back to check your email, do it in a 15-minute or 10-minute sprint once an hour. You come in, you do your email, and then you go away and you do real work for the whatever time. And I feel like Twitter and tweeting is kind of like that, in that I feel like it's constantly kind of, oh, I should tweet this, oh, I should tweet this. But when I actually do it, I do it in a sprint. I mean, I go in, I go, okay, time to tweet. And I don't want to put too much in at one time, and I don't want to overload it, so like 7 tweets from me about 7 articles, because it's kind of annoying for everybody else. So I love this in that I can kind of go in and set up mine. I saw you do it the other day. You must have hit the limit, the buffer limit. Did you?
Yeah, I was just setting them up. No, I only set up like 3 or 4.
Oh, I thought I saw like 9 or 10 set up in there.
But I was looking at the analytics.
Oh, okay.
I was looking at that.
But yeah, really cool. I've already came up with 5 or 6 new features that they could add on that I'm excited to tell them about. But cool. So bufferapp.com, freemium. $30 a month seems a little bit much. Since we just said that $5 a month gets you Google Apps, Gmail, Docs, Talk.
This is a lot for $30.
So then $5 a month.
Even the $5 version's quite a bit much.
A little bit much. I think people are afraid to do $1 because I feel like they don't.
99 cents, baby.
But 99 cents a month. At $12 a year, I would be in there. Buffer, I've been there for about $20 a year.
Why?
Multiple
free
accounts.
Version does
multiple accounts. Multiple accounts.
All right, multiple buffer accounts.
Not really.
Yeah, really.
You'd have to do one on either browser.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd have to have 4 or 5 browsers. Anyway, so as I promised last week, I said I had lots of picks, and I was going to put them in a blog post, and I did.
You did.
But I kind of wrapped them up into an article about traveling. So
because we were traveling.
Because we were traveling, and I was actually doing all these apps and thinking about all these apps, and so I put them to. So I'm first going to say go to blog.arkusinc.com and read my article or my blog post about. It's called Tech Travel: Great Apps and Tech Gear to Help You Travel Like a Pro. I figured I'd try to fill the screen with one big.
Did you travel like a pro?
I did travel like a pro.
Did you feel like a pro when you were traveling?
Listen, when I connected up my iPad and to the TV in the hotel and watch movies off of it instead of watching whatever crud was on, I felt like I had my own personal DVR in there, and I felt like a pro. But anyway, there's some stuff. I talk about gear. I talk about things you should bring. Nothing groundbreaking, but kind of a couple hints. But I'll talk about the apps. So I'll kind of lay out all the apps and put
Please do
3 or 4 of them. So first app that I think for my CloudFocus apps picks of the week is TripIt. I think I've picked this before. A couple of these I've picked before, so I'm kind of rounding them up, and maybe all of them will add up to one full pick. TripIt, which is a website that allows you to basically every time you get an email from a confirmation for a hotel, for a car, for a plane, you just forward it off to plans@tripit.com. You've signed up there already, and then it builds you a trip. That's cool. Okay, fine, that's online. Grab the app, the iPhone, I think they have Android and an iPad app, and it then syncs down and creates these trips on your thing with all your confirmation information, location, address. It basically builds you a great little itinerary, which what I use it for is I then send it off by email to people, loved ones, family members. If Justin were to do something horrific and I wasn't to come back, they would know where I was. So that's a great feature. Add on to that, there's an app called Flight Track Pro, which will then read from your TripIt account and create flight track information. So it'll track every flight, like where it is, when it's taking off. It'll send you push alerts. You can also sign up if you don't want to pay for that, which I think is like $4.99. You can buy the Kayak one. Kayak has flight track status. Problem is Kayak doesn't read from TripIt, but you can put in the flights. But Kayak does a nice thing. If you sign up for the online, it'll send you emails too. So every time something happens to the flight, it'll send you an email saying it got delayed, it landed, and so it's a little annoying when you get there, but you basically have every piece of it tracked out, so you can track it via email, because sometimes your other communication's not working. Then if you're in those 2 apps, you can use the one which I love is called Flightboard, which actually bounces from Flight Tracker, and it basically it's for the iPhone and iPad. They might have Android versions, which gives you that flight board, like that departures or arrivals. You can look up any airport. It basically shows it just like it, and then you can bounce between that and other apps. It'll tweet it or tweak the flights. But basically, you can sit there instead of going over to the flight board and seeing what things are. You can basically watch it on your own personal flight board. It looks great on the iPad because it looks like the actual flight board that you see in every airport. So those are my 3. I mean, I would say the other thing or 4, because Kayak flight status. The other ones I'd add in is, go check out when you're doing your flights and you're with airlines, hotels, car rental agencies. Go see if they have apps. Like a lot of them have built custom apps that do some neat things. American allows you to check in via on the app. So does Delta in almost 20 or 60, I think 60 airports now. I looked at Hyatt. Hyatt had some stuff. So they're pretty basic at this point, but they're getting there. They're starting to add features to them. They're updating them. They're adding in some of the kind of like nicety features. They'll tell you how many miles you have. They'll show you your upcoming trips. They allow you to print your boarding pass, kind of send it off as an email to somebody. So again, if you just want to send the flight information. So nice little integrations that they build in. So check, again, I know American, Continental, Delta the same. They all have them. And then Hyatt, Hertz has a good one. You can actually find the local one, the closest Hertz dealership. So
I'm ready to go on another trip with you.
Because I'm such a pro.
You're awesome.
So that's it. So again, go to the whole article with all sorts of gear stuff. We should probably pick the one last pick we should pick because we played it the entire time down there.
NBA Jam?
Yeah, we gotta pick NBA Jam.
NBA Jam on an iPad?
Yeah.
It's like the best game ever.
Yeah. $9.99. You gotta get that. This is for
anyone who is, between the ages of, I would say, early 20s and 50. It's that game that you grew up playing in the arcade, and it's awesome.
I thought about it because it is $10 for the iPad, and the iPad version and the iPhone version are different, which I don't like. I hate when they do that. It's the same
I'm
thing.
not playing that game on an iPhone, though.
Yeah, no, you can't. You could play it on, but it's not.
Not after playing on an iPad.
But I thought about the money in college. It was in our sort of, student center. And I remember the pumping just dollars and dollars and dollars,
and
quarters into that. So I probably paid for not an iPad's worth of it, but definitely the game over in the amount that I played it in the played it on the whole trip back. Had a great time. I'm halfway through my first, or maybe more than halfway through my first.
I'm through my second campaign.
Yeah,
I'm in the middle of my second campaign.
I turned on big heads.
Me too.
And I
don't like the big heads.
I don't. Well, I was just doing it for fun, and then I changed the ball to America. The American ball.
I was playing with the USA ball. Now I'm playing with like, I think it's called Cobalt or something.
Cobalt?
It's like a shiny blue ball.
Oh, nice.
It's just a fun game.
It's a fun game. It really is, and I think they've done some neat things on the iPad. Anyway,
we should play a game against each other on the podcast
next
so
week.
That people can hear the boom shakalaka.
Next week, and we played multiplayer.
We did. We played over Bluetooth, which was okay.
I thought it was pretty good. I'd like to play together over Bluetooth. That'd be fun. Let's see how that works.
We could play together over Wi-Fi. That'd be better.
I don't know. I think Bluetooth has less lag.
I don't know.
All right. So that wraps up the CloudFocus episode number 44. The blog is at blog.arkusinc.com. You can subscribe. If you want to follow the company, that's twitter.com/arkusinc. Want to follow Justin here and all his MBA boom shakalaka jams? It's twitter.com/Just Edelstein. And I'm at twitter.com/JasonMAtwood. And then the whole company's on Facebook, where if we post blog posts, we post our blog posts and podcasts up on Facebook. So if you just want to see it in your Facebook feed,
you could comment on it there.
Yeah, you can comment on it there. Tell us what you liked about it or not. It's facebook.com/ArkusInc, ARKUSINC. And always subscribe to the podcast in iTunes. So if you just want to get the podcast, as many of you do, subscribe to the podcast, because again, we're doing it on a different day today. We're keeping it real. So you'll get it about 20 minutes after I hit save on this on the computer. Until next time, and since it is actually raining here in New York City,
quite cloudy,
and it's supposed to be raining for the last 4 days and raining for the next 4, it is a good time to actually enjoy those cloudy days.